faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally Talking Books. Today, the book we're discussing for you is Afraid of Strangers, and Benoit is a teacher, but he's really afraid of being blamed and judged. Even a look from someone makes him flustered. When these symptoms got worse, he couldn't even handle normal classes. Like every time a student asked a question, he'd get so nervous he broke out in a cold sweat. This is a true story. Similar cases include a restaurant server scared of loud customers. Whenever he meets such guests, he feels like he's in big trouble. These are the classic symptoms of being afraid of strangers, as the title says, which academia defines as social anxiety disorder. The book's authors believe that this discomfort and timidity towards public places and strangers exists to some degree in everyone. However, if this anxiety gets severe, beyond what a person can handle, it leads to serious issues like social phobia and avoidance, messing up normal relationships. This demands serious attention. The authors are two French psychology experts, Christophe André and Patrick Legeron. Christophe André is a psychiatrist at Santé Psychiatric Hospital in Paris, and he's a best-selling author too, with key books like Self-Esteem Just Right and Personality Everywhere. The other author, Patrick Legeron, is a psychology professor at Sciences Po Paris and often gives counseling to companies. Both authors have solid academic backgrounds and tons of hands-on experience. From working with many patients, they deeply understand the social anxiety and pain people feel when facing strangers. The book Afraid of Strangers focuses tightly on social anxiety disorder, covering its concepts, types, and symptoms in depth. And it offers systematic tips and advice for overcoming social anxiety. So I'll walk you through this book with 3 questions. First, what are the key characteristics and types of social anxiety disorder? Second, what causes social anxiety disorder? Third, how to beat and treat social anxiety disorder. All right, let's start with the first question. What are the characteristics and types of social anxiety disorder? Social anxiety disorder has 2 typical characteristics. First, social anxiety always happens in certain specific situations. Second, people with social anxiety experience various disruptions in their body, behavior, and cognition. So let's start with the first characteristic. Social anxiety disorder always occurs in certain special occasions. These special occasions can roughly be divided into public speaking or performances, informal interactions, and doing things under others' gaze. Oh, speaking or performing in the spotlight easily triggers social anxiety. American singer Carly Simon once said in an interview that during her first concert, she almost broke down in front of the audience. In her second performance, she actually fainted on stage due to anxiety, which interrupted her singing career for a while. Even in seemingly casual everyday interactions, some people feel anxious and uncomfortable. For example, Mary, a manager's secretary, dreads most taking clients through hallways or in elevators. Staying silent feels awkward then, but forcing conversation risks sensitive topics and making others uneasy. Why does Mary develop this fear? Well, Mary is terrified of others seeing her flaws and even more afraid they'll discover her social fears. In such informal settings, she doesn't know how to avoid awkwardness without seeming overly enthusiastic and frivolous, leaving her stuck in a dilemma. The third type of situation that easily sparks social anxiety is doing things under others' gaze, including simple acts like eating, drinking, or even passing by. Actually, others aren't deliberately watching us, but we always feel a sharp gaze constantly monitoring our every move. We're always afraid our behavior isn't proper enough, making others laugh at us, which leaves some people feeling lost and extremely anxious. The second characteristic of social anxiety is that it always causes disruptions in physical, behavioral, and cognitive aspects. Social anxiety affects the body in many ways. Internally, like rapid heartbeat and stomach cramps. externally, like trembling all over. Jacques, a painter, has social phobia. He prefers to work quietly, fears interacting with clients, and never drinks coffee or alcohol in front of them. Because whenever he gets nervous, his whole body trembles. If he's holding a cup with ice in it, things get even worse. And what's more, these abnormal reactions are hard to control. The more you try to suppress them, the stronger they become. One typical physical symptom caused by social anxiety is erythrophobia. Oh, that's the blushing kind of shyness. But this isn't just normal blushing. It's when your face gets redder and redder as social anxiety worsens, making you focus only on your complexion instead of communicating. For example, someone with erythrophobia might blush for no reason when hearing someone stole my umbrella. This makes others mistakenly think he's the thief. So he has to give some random explanation, which only makes people more suspicious, seriously messing up his social life. Social anxiety also causes behavioral abnormalities, most obviously communication barriers, like this woman trying glasses in a store who felt everyone was watching her, so uncomfortable that she just bought them and rushed out. Back home, she realized she'd left the new glasses there from nervousness, but wouldn't call because she'd never return to that nightmare place. This is social phobia. Beyond behavior, social anxiety disorder also causes cognitive disruptions. What's cognition? Simply put, it's what goes on in your mind. The authors say cognitive disruption is one of social anxiety's more severe effects. First, it makes us judge ourselves negatively, thinking we're worthless. Second, it makes us fear others' judgments, thinking they view us with doubt or ridicule. And finally, it makes us dread others' reactions, assuming hostility toward what we say or do. Plus, the authors note cognitive disruption causes anticipatory anxiety, firmly believing that doing something will trigger a chain of bad outcomes. Many have faced these social anxiety symptoms. Some mild cases just need self-adjustment, but sometimes social anxiety disorder brings unexpected suffering that turns life upside down. Therefore, it's crucial to strictly differentiate types of social anxiety disorder. By severity level, social anxiety disorder ranges from mild to severe in four types: fearfulness, timidity, avoidant personality, and social phobia, with fearfulness being the mildest. Fearfulness is an intense but short-lived social anxiety, especially noticeable during public speaking. Data shows heart rates during public presentations can reach 130 to 170 beats per minute. But for most people, even though public speaking causes fear, that feeling eases once they start talking. A bit more severe than fearfulness is timidity, essentially that inner discomfort when outsiders are present. This discomfort makes people withdraw and avoid initiating social contact. The authors describe this as suppression, meaning though they want to interact, an inner voice tells them to stay quiet and avoid eye contact. Timid people often feel lonely, even missing great opportunities in careers and love. But timidity isn't a psychological disorder. As interactions deepen and people become familiar, that timid feeling gradually fades. Former French President Francois Mitterrand openly admitted he was a timid person. He told reporters that even after becoming president, he'd still get stage fright before public speeches. But strong inner conviction always helped him overcome it. Both fearfulness and timidity are mild social anxiety symptoms. Now, avoiding personality and social phobia fall into actual psychological disorder territory. What is avoidant personality? Take Voice, an employee at a big firm. He works diligently but barely talks to colleagues, so everyone sees him as cold. In his personal life, his marriage is emotionally distant too. He even politely declines when his daughter asks him to join her games. Royce rejects nearly all uncomfortable social situations, isolating himself. Classic avoidant personality. Avoidant personality, they always distrust others, stay overly guarded, and find all kinds of self-justifying reasons to escape social settings. Studies show nearly half of avoidant personalities develop into social phobia, the most severe form of social anxiety. Social phobia goes beyond ordinary fear or timidity. It's a persistent, intense, uncontrollable, extreme aversion to social situations. The authors give a really vivid example in the book to show how extreme this fear gets. Like, if a spider appears in the room, regular people get a bit scared, but after dealing with it, they sleep just fine. But someone with deep-seated fear might faint instantly just seeing a spider's leg and would never enter that room again. Social phobia sufferers are terrified of being under others' gaze, believing people always view them coldly. They constantly reinforce their urge to avoid social settings, severely disrupting normal life. For example, a teacher with social phobia actually quit teaching because he couldn't communicate with parents, switching to night security work instead. Only that way could he manage his social fears. Oh, and social phobia often comes with self-destructive behaviors, like heavy drinking, even fear of living itself leading to suicide. Therefore, people with social phobia must get treatment. All right, that covers social phobia's symptoms and types. Now, to the second question, what causes social anxiety disorder? The authors explain through psychological and external mechanisms. Psychologically, social anxiety mainly stems from negative cognition. Our brains filtered tons of information, and what gets filtered depends on our values, experiences, and current mindset. This filtered information then shapes our thoughts. Facing social situations, some people always generate negative thoughts, making their anxiety skyrocket. For instance, during a presentation when faced with tough questions, anxious folks think, oh, they must be doubting or mocking me. The positive thinkers would see it as a great self-improvement opportunity. So the authors note that much social anxiety is actually evaluation anxiety. Simply put, it's constantly feeling others are judging your words and actions, only seeing negative evaluations while missing positive social benefits. So over time, people with social anxiety disorder develop rigid behavioral rules that govern their actions. If their behavior falls short of these rules' expectations, varying degrees of social anxiety kick in. For example, a job seeker with social anxiety sets a rule: I must appear flawless for others to appreciate me. But he worries he won't perform well enough, and this conflict traps him in social anxiety. Besides evaluation anxieties, psychological mechanism, three external factors trigger social anxiety: genetic predisposition, cultural background, and upbringing. Is social anxiety innate? Harvard's Professor Jerome Kagan believes people with social anxiety do have different brains. Their amygdalas react intensely to unfamiliar situations. For instance, some kids starting kindergarten show much more tension and resistance than peers. Research also suggests if toddlers still panic in new settings at age 2, 75% will keep this behavior long term. This is because humans naturally carry an anxiety gene, likely dating back to ancient times. Back then, exposure in open view meant danger of attack in perilous environments. Thus, the social anxiety gene emerged. So, even newborns show anxiety reactions to unfamiliar settings. By age 2, 15% of children clearly reject unfamiliar situations. And these 15% are more prone to develop social anxiety disorder. The second external trigger is cultural restraint and conservatism. Cross-cultural studies show Japanese people fear social activities most, with a 60% social anxiety rate. Many Japanese suffer from taijin kyofusho, a social anxiety disorder. Patients feel extreme shame, imagining they've offended others through reactions like burping, farting, or inappropriate attitudes. Additionally, certain childhood experiences can trigger adult social anxiety, like a woman born with cleft lip who was already distressed about her appearance. Then at age 13, a classmate mocked her in front of everyone, causing extreme anxiety and social phobia. This haunted her throughout life until she finally sought the author's help. Some hurts that seem trivial to outsiders can cause indelible trauma for psychologically vulnerable people during development. All right, that concludes our second topic. External causes of social phobia include genetic brain structure influences, cultural behavior impacts, and childhood traumas. These external factors work through psychological mechanisms, specifically negative cognition, causing evaluation anxiety. Now to our third question: how to effectively overcome and treat social anxiety disorder. Oh, mild social anxiety can improve through self regulation, but severe cases like social phobia may make leaving home or making calls impossible. So, anxiety this severe requires scientifically validated treatment. The book mainly offers two treatments: medication and psychotherapy. Treatment: there are three main types of psychiatric medications for social anxiety, all prescription only and doctor supervised. Briefly, first are beta blockers, effective for specific symptoms like sudden panic in flustered patients. A survey found 30% of musicians in a prestigious association use these to ensure performance quality. Second are sedatives, primarily targeting muscle tension. Third are antidepressants, easing anxiety itself and helping patients gradually face feared social situations. But medication alone often leads to relapse and has side effects. Thus, combining medication with psychotherapy is most effective for severe social anxiety. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is the most common psychotherapy for social anxiety. CBT corrects patients' false self perceptions and transforms their thinking patterns. Cognitive therapy primarily addresses three issues. First, helping them courageously face unfamiliar situations. Second, enhancing their social abilities. Third, changing perceptions about themselves and others. People with social anxiety disorder habitually avoid social settings. So the primary task is to encourage them to confront it bravely. Alan suffers from social phobia. He constantly complains about fearing social interactions, but never specifically analyzed the reasons. The doctor had him list all fear-inducing situations and rank them by anxiety level. After listing specific anxiety-provoking situations, Alan began seriously reflecting on why they made him anxious. For example, Alan feels anxious about watching movies alone. After analysis, he concluded that movie watching should be a group activity. But when going alone, he feels others stare at him strangely, making him very uncomfortable. As a result, he avoids speaking loudly to cashiers or even letting ushers guide him to his seat. The doctor first counseled Alan, then helped him repeatedly practice the scenario, constantly reminding him his behavior was ordinary and unnoticeable, telling him to relax, adjust breathing, not look down, and speak with appropriate volume. After training, the doctor selected a small theater to test Alan's progress. The results showed he could smoothly overcome his mental barrier and happily watch an entire movie. Many social anxiety sufferers describe their symptoms abstractly, just saying they fear socializing and avoid public settings without analyzing which specific situations trigger anxiety. Therefore, first identify the specific anxiety triggering situations, then analyze them to find the root of the fear. Like Alan, only by making the problem concrete to confront it and accumulating experience through professional training. Gaining experience facing anxiety-inducing situations is key to truly stop escaping and confront bravely. After bravely facing the source of social anxiety, cognitive therapy addresses. The second issue is improving social skills. Key to this is stopping self-doubt, building confidence, and expressing ideas appropriately and clearly. Batani is an architect with depression. Naturally unsociable, his anxiety worsens when facing client complaints. The doctor first simulated disagreement scenarios with clients, discovering Atani always defended himself in such situations. For example, he'd say, "Oh, I don't have time for the construction site. My schedule's completely full." But defending himself only intensified his anxiety. The result was him just wanting to escape the situation immediately. And the doctor believed this stemmed from his lack of confidence and insufficient social skills. So he advised Atani to first practice self affirmation in such situations, respond to difficult clients with poise while acknowledging his own capabilities, actively seeking solutions. Through role playing, the doctor and Atani simulated client communication scenarios, repeatedly exploring the most appropriate response strategies. When facing client dissatisfaction again, Atani responded, "I understand your frustration. I'll find solutions. I can't constantly monitor workers, but I guarantee daily site visits from tomorrow, all issues will be resolved." Right. So this is after persistent scenario practice, Atani's social skills improved significantly. Filled with self-affirmation, his anxiety lessened dramatically, enabling him to handle difficult clients with ease. Earlier we mentioned social anxiety is essentially evaluation anxiety. So the final step is changing perceptions about oneself and others to alleviate anxiety. Philip is a doctor with social phobia who fears answering patients' questions. He always believed any imperfect answer would make patients think him worthless. As sessions deepened, the doctor had Philip list fear-inducing situations and thoughts, analyzing their underlying logic. Finally, Philip realized his social fears and negative thoughts stemmed from an inner rule he constantly followed. Having flaws is shameful, one must achieve perfection. Addressing this, the doctor suggested Philip regularly discuss hidden worries, avoid excessive self-criticism in similar situations, and promptly correct biased thoughts when they arise. Through repeated cognitive training, Philip's social phobia eased, and he could work normally again. Like any illness, social anxiety has identifiable causes, symptoms with discernible patterns. It's not just oversensitivity or overthinking. It's a mental condition anyone might face, needing proper recognition and attention. Humans are fundamentally social creatures. Only through interacting with others can we truly understand ourselves and shape the world. Thus, overcoming social anxiety isn't just about freeing people from fearing strangers. It impacts lifelong development and life happiness. All right, Afraid of Strangers. That wraps up this book. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.